You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Sitting looking back on all the times we shared, when I acted like I just didn't really care, and it wasn't fair. You stood by me, girl, when I was so untrue. But this is my promise, girl, I give to only you. Let me be the one you come running to. When you need me, I'll be there, just to let you know that I do care. Baby, I promise, girl, I promise, I'll always be true. And baby, I promise, girl, I promise you that I'll be right here for you. No matter the problem, baby, I'll stand by your side. Be right by your side. We share can never be denied.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you all had a great day. Hope the week is going well for you. Episode 490 of the podcast. Before we get into it, there's a couple things I would like to say up front. I would like to thank Bree McDaniel. It was a wonderful interview that we did, but shout out to Rose DePaula as the one who set it up. I'm not gonna lie, that was not a curveball, but it was an honor. I felt proud to do that interview with Bree, especially going into her last season here at College Park. It was fun. The interview should already be up on the channel if you haven't already seen it. It's also on Twitter if you've not already seen it. Thank you for the support you've given me and this channel. It's much appreciated. You're going to start seeing some WNBA content on the channel, and as well as some NFL content as well. So stay tuned for that, especially getting ready for the Ravens and Commanders seasons, respectfully, with the draft. With this video, I'm going to pivot and do a separate video on the Mystics. So this year, I'm going to go into, I've lost count now with how many seasons, I think it's now season 4 with the Mystics. And I want to do a separate video on their draft, because I've heard and I've seen mixed responses to their draft, and I'm going to just leave. I'm just going to give you a little here, and I'm not going to give you too much off the plate. But if we're going to acknowledge, if we're going to criticize how Sydney drafted, I need us to really understand how the last 4 years have looked like for the Mystics. I'm going to leave it right there. So stay tuned for that video. With these grades, I think these grades are fair based on, I think, team needs. When I look at the draft, it's about how the individual best fits and how best fits the team, and also to, I think, free agency, I think, kind of and sort of played a role in this. And then I also to think for some teams, I think use the NCAA tournament to reinforce their decision who they wanted. Now there's a couple players on here because I got at least most. I would go back and look at my mock draft with Nick. Shout out to Nick Andre from the Best MW show. But I think I was confident in most of my picks. I think I was maybe seven, maybe 8. I have to go back and look. But let's get right into it. So for the 2026 WNBA Draft, first and foremost, I want to congratulate all the young women. It's a new chapter. It was great. Everybody looked great. Everybody looked a huge night. We'll talk about that in one final thought. But we're going to start with the Atlanta Dream. They had the 13th overall pick. They drafted Medina Okat and Daya Navar and Kenja Rain. We already know with the trade for Andrew Reese, Okat is still, I think, is disappointed she did not get an extra year with South Carolina, but she only had 2 years of experience. But I think she's shown with the time that she was here. I think it's shown what she can do on the court. In the mock draft, I think I projected her a little higher. Nick Andre looked at me a little crazy when I did that, but I think she will learn well with the great Bree Jones. I think she'll learn the position well. As far as I know from Indy Navar, Maryland played them at North Carolina NCAA tournament. If I remember correctly, she played at Stanford last season with the Tar Heels. This year, she averaged, I think, about 10 points a game. Not the best 3-point shooter and free throw shooter. But the biggest thing I took away from looking at her team, even watching it against Maryland, her defense. And especially that is something they will really, really appreciate in Atlanta. Because I think also, too, down the stretch, getting stops defensively will be key. Now, as far as Kaja Rain, she's from China. Looked at a little bit of some stuff from my understanding. It's basically the same thing, defense. So she has an international experience. And with that, I'm going to give the Atlanta Dream, I'm going to give them a B. I think that grade is fair, and we'll see how it all looks. Now, you do have to keep 12 players on the roster. So I'm curious to see what they bring in for training camp, all that fun stuff like that. But other than that, great draft, Dan Panover. The Chicago Sky, had the 5th overall pick with Gabriela Jaquez, and it was a good draft for them. It's been a great offseason for them, and how they've retooled their roster. I think it's a little weird that I don't know how you want to say it, the Angel fans now are upset that now they want to build a team. Let me back up. Most teams don't do what they did for Angel. She's in a great situation, and this has worked out for both parties. I do think for this particular draft, I'm curious to see. Was my question for the drafting Gabriela at 5. Was this the right pick? I think this might have been a slight reach. Latasia Lattimore, from Ole Miss. I think we'll see how she looks as she transitions from Ole Miss to now Chicago. Because I definitely think with both players, Jaquez definitely brings the energy that you need. She brings the Lattimore, same thing. I'm really curious to see what all that will look like. Toni Morgan, I saw a little bit of her when Maryland played them as well in the Puerto Rico tournament. Basically, her assists are something that stand out. Can dish the ball out, so I can see her definitely being a good playmaker for the Sky, and I can see a nice little connection, getting pick and rolls with Camilla and with oh my gosh, who else is on the roster right now? Azare and others. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this looks for the Sky. But other than that, man, I thought it was a good draft for them. We'll just see how it all will look. It's got to put it together. Just another backcourt piece with Toni. I think getting another big with Latasia is great. Again, the ability to stretch the floor, handle the ball. I think it's different. I know how we're doing with modern forwards, but yes. But Gabrielle, I think, is the key to the success of how this version of the Sky would look. Because she has a skill set and intangibles that I think, one, will transition well into the W, but I'm also curious to see how those minutes in Chicago, how they will be spread it out. But with that being said, I'm going to give the Chicago Sky a B-. And the last, this is the last year for them in Connecticut, but the Sun, they took Nell Aglama from France and Gianna Neepkins, Charlize Ledger-Walker, and Taylor Bigsby. I think I had Nell go to Toronto in my mock draft. Okay, not mad at it. Well, first I should know Rancid was going to take someone from a European player, and I think she will do well in Connecticut because they did get. Well, I'm a little confused now on this because one, you got Aaliyah Edwards in a trade for J.C. Sheldon last year. Then you just picked up Diamond Miller as well, and you also have Anissa Morrow. So that's a little strange. I think that's a lot of wings. But I mean, she definitely stood out. I mean, her athleticism, I think as a two-way, I think she definitely identifies with his system, what he looks for. I think with Gianna, I think is perimeter shooting that they desperately did not have last year. And her floor spacing, I think, was something that they'll definitely appreciate. Charlize is somebody I think will fill in that guard role. Now a player like Marina is now gone. So I definitely think it's something to see how, again, same thing, the minutes. Taylor Bigsby, my understanding was this went to TCU. I think it was at Oregon, I think, at started her career. I know she transferred somewhere else, can't remember. But biggest thing for her is size, versatility. She can shoot on the wings. And again, is somebody that can stretch the floor. So, I mean, they've got four potential pieces in what he wants to build with this roster. But I still think this roster still has some work that needs to be done. But looking at this draft and looking at what they're going to bring, and also, too, they took Sarah Williams as well. Only played one season with UConn with the 33rd overall pick. So, because they traded Taylor Bigsby to Portland for Sarah Williams. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that'll look. But I think this is fair. The final grade is B+. The Dallas Wings. If my gut feeling is telling me they're going to run that 3-guard offense, it's going to be a long season. I think it was a no-brainer that AZ was going to be number 1 overall. I am somebody that I believe Lauren should have been the number 1 overall pick. I'm going to stand by that. I do think there is a bias of not Lauren not being number 1, but I get it. AZ is an efficient shooter. I think she has shown that she can be a guard who can play off ball. I think she's a good guard, can shift for defense, all of those things. But who's playing the 3? And on top of that, too, yeah, you got Enrique back. That's great. You got Jessica Shepard and Elena Smith from the Minnesota Lynx, but I don't know if that's a good look. I really don't, because Jose's system is European style, and if I'm somebody's going to play the three, and I don't know if that's a good look. I'm sorry, but I think it's a good pick. I'm not surprised. Lizzie Spellman, I think would be good for them. She just adds more front court depth. Owat Kyrie should be back this year as well, because I think you're building alongside an interior group that's already been retooled and ready to go. But I'm gonna give this Dallas Wings, I'm gonna give them an A. The Golden State Valkyries. Okay, this was the most interesting one of the night. This would be the second interesting one of the night. They initially had the 8th overall pick, and they had drafted Flau'jae Johnson. And then during the draft, they had traded Flau'jae to Seattle for Marta Suarez, TCU, and a future second round pick. I am extremely mind boggled by that, because if you wanted Marta was right there at 8. So
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I you know what? I'm going to read an article from Espen. Alexa and the GM, who really okay. Basically, this was after the draft Monday night, and I quote, "I'm going to take a beat to be able to eloquently give a response. I don't have a lot of detail to share. 1, because I'm exhausted. 2, because I want to be very thoughtful when I'm talking about other humans and their basketball abilities and how they would or would not show up for our squad. When asked about salary implications, how they might impact the trade, Narnan responded, I don't talk or comment about salary cap, so wouldn't be able to answer the question in a way. Madam, that is your job. That is the responsibility of a GM. Your job is to put the best team out there, free agents or draft picks. You took Flau'jae at 8. And then we come to find out that this trade was already in place before the draft. Question. Why didn't you guys not do this trade a week before the draft? Why didn't you not do this 2 weeks before the draft? Trading for Marta has nothing to do with it. I just think it's a bit suspect, because I think how you handled the trade and how you doubled down, how you quadrupled down on your logic on trading Flau'jae, and Flau'jae, who I think will do well in Seattle. Excuse me, my apologies. So I don't know what that was, but I mean, I don't get that pick. I don't get that. I don't get the logic with the decision to draft Flau'jae and then turn around. Yeah, we're going to trade her, and then, well, I'm too tired. I'm exhausted. Well, Sidney Johnson was exhausted, and he was able to answer questions. Morgan Tuck and Rancid Mazine, they were able to answer questions. I'm just being honest. So, but I mean, with Marta, biggest thing is she's polished. We all know she's on the Spanish national team. They also got Ashley Jackson from Duke. She can shoot the ball. Perimeter defense is key. I think giving someone, another piece to that defensive identity that Golden State already has. and someone who could space the floor, because that's something also too that Golden State really lacked at times last year. It was a shooter. Kokoro Tanaka from Japan, the same thing, international experience. I think will bring some depth to that backcourt, and a shooter. So it'll be interesting to see how it looks. But I gotta give you a C minus, simply because I just think that it has nothing to do with you only getting, you traded for 2 second-round picks, Marta, and then the 2028 second-round pick. So you really have nothing to really show for. You do with Marta, but you could have done separate trades. That's just me. That's just how I feel. 6. This is going to be interesting, and I think this is fair. Indiana, they took Raven Johnson at 10. I really wish Washington would have taken her at 9. She was right there. There's a couple other players at 9 that Washington could have taken, but we'll get to that a little bit. Took Raven Johnson, Justine Pissott, and Jessica Timmons from Alabama. The biggest thing I looked was they're guard heavy. So I'm curious to see how that'll work. Raven was the best available guard, and biggest her identity is defense. And her size can rebound the ball. And in this offense, she does not have to do a lot of scoring. Like, she would make Caitlin's job a lot would make it easier. Kelsey Mitchell's job easy. Like, getting to stops, like last year, Las Vegas was a couple possessions from losing and not getting the championship. But the biggest thing with Indiana was getting defensive stops. Yes, they signed Ty Harris, who I think will be great. But you are also you're getting the most winningest player from high school and college. You're getting alongside Aaliyah Boston. Like, I think it's a great situation for her. I think and I am aware of that space that occurred. And I'm just going to say this. As much as already is what's happening around us this summer with no. We ain't got patience for it. Just to my peoples that I know, just keep it pushing, block people, keep it moving, and enjoy the basketball games. Because you could tell who's watching the games and who's not. Because it wasn't just Raven Johnson in that space. I'm referring to this on Twitter. It wasn't just Raven Johnson they were attacking. They were going after Stephanie White. They were going after Amber Cox. And it's just weird. And it's a two-way street. Sometimes, you got to say, hey, look, I'm not going to engage in that bull crap. And both parties got to chill the hell out. Like, whether you like it or not, they're all teammates now. Our goal is to win basketball games, because the ultimate goal is to what? Win a championship. Is not having a tone setter and somebody who can make a difference on the defensive floor, and even at times help you with helping your half court offense and even defense. Like, oh my gosh, like I would kill to have Raven Johnson on my team any day of the week. Justine, brings, she has the size, perimeter shooting, and some of that can stretch the floor. And then same thing with Timmons, someone from the backcourt. It's really interesting to see how he looks. Now, I don't expect Cindy Colston because she's still recovering from her ACL injury. So it's going to be interesting to see what Stephanie White does with that rotation as a whole. But and I'm giving Indiana a B plus. I think it's fair. I think Raven will do just fine in Indiana. And I'm just going to leave it at that. 7. The Las Vegas Aces. The Aces got Little Asia. I don't know why whoever that was made those kind of comparisons, but that's neither here nor there. Little Asia, I think will be okay, but I will say that she did hurt herself with her draft stock by kind of taking herself out the last part of the season. And yes, Janiyah has talent, but being at Texas A&M and UCLA is I think one could make an argument she would have been higher because there was a tournament that she missed. Taking herself out the season really hurt her, in my opinion. So I think she was widely projected because she was projected to actually go. At one point, they had Washington take her. So, but Jordan Anobi, again, someone I saw look at the Maryland game. Somebody's just a backcourt option because now the Leonai is in Toronto. This was simply just adding depth to their roster. C. The Los Angeles Sparks had the 20th overall. They took Taniyah Latson, Chance Gray, and Amelia Hassett. I think the Sparks low-key won this draft. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do this because, again, you don't have a first-round pick. You got to make water in the wine some way somehow. So my understanding was Taniyah could have went into the draft last year, but I think being in South Carolina this year, I think Dawn got her looking a little bit better than how she was at Florida. So it's going to be interesting to see how she will do in the W. I think Taniyah will do just fine. I was surprised she fell that far at 20. For somebody who is a playmaker and is a defender, I'm curious to see how behind Kelsey Plum and our Ariel Atkins, how they will help develop her. Because my concern is I saw the player that's not on the roster any longer, Rickea Jackson, just for the record, kind of be taken out of the rotation and not really what's what I'm looking for. Didn't know how to really use her. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Taniyah. Chance Gray, Ohio State, perimeter shooting, and her and Amelia both. And yes, Chance Gray also hurt us in that first Maryland game at College Park. I still remember it clearly. Her Jelani Cambridge. Okay, focus, Nathan. But anywho, they both give Chance Gray and Amelia Hassett. They give them floor spacing and shooting on the perimeter, and with Amelia, especially also front court and perimeter. Now that Azare's gone, I'm curious to see how that will work for sure. So I'm going to give the Sparks an A minus. So let's go to Minnesota. Now, this is the team that I want to talk about for a second because while everyone criticized Washington, nobody really, well, I'm gonna take it back. People did give Minnesota some smack, but that's okay. So we all know that most of last year's roster has departed for free agency. You had the number 2 overall pick due to a trade from Chicago last year. And one would think with Fee, more like she will be coming back mid-season. Okay, maybe you're doing a soft rebuild and saying, okay, well, we're just going to retool in 27. Awafame was right there at 2. Leaving Miles. Okay. I understand Courtney's going to play the point. Cheryl made that clear. But biggest thing, and especially I guess in Cheryl's system, is defense. That's the biggest thing that she has to get better in, which I think she will do that without no issue. But you didn't really. You had a chance to get Lauren Betts and you didn't. I like to know why. What did she see that we didn't? I mean, biggest thing also too, when they were in the finals, they lacked shooting. And I think Olivia is someone who brings that. She brings someone who is a great playmaker, can control the tempo, and I mean is an example of a floor general. Lonnie White out of Utah. I looked at a little bit of stuff on YouTube, and I've seen one thing that stood out is she's a good perimeter shooter, and would definitely do well on the wings because they definitely need shooters. And also, too, we don't know how long Kelly McBride will be out because my understanding she has a ruptured eardrum. So prayers out to her as she recovers from that. But other than that, like, gosh, it's gonna be interesting. B+ of B+, but we're now 9 grades in. We have 5 teams left to grade, and we're going to take a quick break here on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we are now at number 10 with New York Liberty, and they took the sister of Nadea Pooch, who was taken in the expansion draft. She's with the Toronto Temple, and essentially didn't really do much. And I'm sorry, not Toronto, Portland. My apologies. Nadea was taken 12th overall 2 years ago by Atlanta. She has not made her debut in the W yet. So, I mean, New York's pretty much solid at every position that they have. I mean, the biggest question is Satu Sabli, her clearing in which she's ready to play. They just signed Benaja Laney Hamilton back. So, I know Naira Sabli's now in Toronto, but I don't really see what. I mean, late 3rd round pick, D-. At Phoenix, it's same. With now Satu now departed for free agency. I still you have. you have players that are more likely they won't be overseas, from coming over here for some time. And I'm really curious on the thought process on how they drafted. I just think Phoenix has this historical trend post the pandemic of a roster that has way too many questions. And yeah, you're leaning on international prospects, but they're under 21. And their biggest strength right now is their upside. And it's going to take time for them to adjust from the European style to the WNBA. So they're just developmental picks at this point, pieces. So I'm so interested to see what they do with it. I'm just going to give it a D plus. Brendan Potts might hate me for this, but that's okay. Number 12, the Portland Fire. Iana Martine. This was the first. What was that moment? Because I'm thinking, okay, Flage, Raven Johnson, Tanaya, Iana Martine. And the thing is, will not be over here this year.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airways, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
Ian is a good player from Spain, young guard. Like I said, won't be here until next year. But again, it's why. I mean, Portland has a decent roster, but this harboring, stashing picks. This is something Atlanta did last year, a couple years ago, and the same thing with Frieda Brunner from Germany, and then you got Taylor Bigsby in the trade for Sarah Williams. So. C-. Okay. Number 13, the Seattle Storm. They had the third overall pick in Awa Fame, Flage in the trade, Tina Meir, and Grace Van Sluten. And I think that's arguably probably the best post now going into this new group now that NECA and Skylar have departed, respectfully, from free agency. Now you're building along Ezzy and Dominique Malonga. And again, I want to make this very clear, and I said this last year. I think Brendan he may be on the podcast with me. I may be wrong when I said this, but I can't remember. I don't know who said it, but I disagreed with this. That Seattle was on this clock of rebuilding around Dominique like this year, and rebuilds don't work like that. I think the biggest thing was how they were going to really approach this with the new head coach and how everything was going to look. Seattle needed a point guard. Tiana brings that for sure with her defense and playmaking. They initially took Marta with the 60th overall pick and got Flage. Now they're getting Flage, who I think will do wonders. So as a two-way guard who can contribute on the wings respectfully. The Grace Van Sluten cheese, that's what I call it, because Michigan State, I tell you, man, like they have some great players. She brings interior scoring, physicality, and I think will get better as a perimeter shooter. All of those things. Seattle, I think won this draft alongside Washington. In my personal opinion, I think they got the pieces. I think they've got the core to around Dominique. Now it just needs time. You got to give this time to gel. Roster construction matters when to rebuild. You can't just throw stuff at the wall like Dallas and hope it sticks, or with Chicago 2 years ago. That's how teams fall apart within 2 or 3 years. A+. Toronto. They had Kiki Rice, Tioni Key, Chiffon Shields, and Charlize Dunn. Not bad. Kiki, UCLA dominated that first round. Finished almost 15 points, 6 rebounds, almost really under 40%, and I definitely think is the right person to lead, to have for Toronto. I am curious to see how they will do that. Sandy Brondello has a squad, because you're getting a high IQ guard that can definitely organize an offense and settle offense down. Tioni Key, Kentucky, someone who brings versatility in the front court, can also space the floor in situational lineups as well. Chiffon Shields is from Australia, if I remember correctly, and Charlize Dunn is from Davidson. Essentially, they're basically the same player almost. They're wing players. So I'm not surprised Sandy went European on that one of those picks, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all looks. But I'm going to give it a B. And last but not least, the Washington Mystics had 6 picks in this draft, and it was a wild couple weeks. Jamila Wideman was fired. Was due to strategic differences, parted ways with the Mystics. Cindy Johnson is now the GM and head coach. We now have seen that second time since Mike Tebow. Shout out to Mike Tebow. Hope he's doing well. And I think the Mystics, I'm going to put it this way. The Mystics were kind of in the same situation they were 13 years ago. Missing out on, the 3-C, Della Dawn, Skylar Diggins-Smith, BG. But this time, fate, I think, was on our side. Because Lauren Betts falling to 4 was the best thing ever. Lauren, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to reiterate this too when I do the video. Shakira Austin and Kiki Arifin are definitely the starters. But I want to say this again. They are not centers. They are power forwards. Shakira Austin was a restricted free agent. Toronto offered her a contract. Washington had 2 days to match it. She's here with us for the next 3 years. This can work one of 2 ways. Lauren, I don't think is going to step on any toes. I think she's going to find her spots in this rotation. You can have Kiki and Kira play 5 in certain situational lineups. Betts Betts gives Washington something we haven't had the last few years. You get an interior defensive anchor that changes how teams attack the paint. Angela Douglas is somebody who can stretch the floor, pick and pop, and they can also play inside. Cody McMahon got that pick right too. Gives me that AT Maisha Hines-Allen role. Somebody who can put their head down and go to the rim, can score versatile and brings that pressure. Now, Cassandra Prosper, okay. She brings some size on the perimeter, some defense, and she's a spot-up shooter. Diana Little Page Bugs, I think will be a steal for us. I don't think she's a power forward. I think she'll be a 3. And then Rory Harmon.
What the hell was that? Hey, what the hell? You freaking kidding me?
Rory Harmon, we had the 34th overall pick. I didn't put it on here. My apologies. Again, we don't need another small guard. 5'6". Rory is great. It just we gotta see how it all looks. The biggest thing is roster construction, interior spacing, and floor and what's the word we're looking for? And I think interior spacing, and then on top of that, everything else, it needs time to develop. That's the key for this Mystic team. I just think with the biggest key is Georgia, who is recovering from an ACL injury, and again, Douglas was a good pick. I just think they should have taken like a Tanaya or a Raven. Cody, I think, was fine. You got to address the wings, because if you look at last year, that's where Washington struggled. They struggled in the wings and in the interior, and a lot of people, I'm going to say it. A lot of people call it, well, Washington needs size. Well, they did that in this draft, and I'm going to say this again. I'm going to attack the plate, but I'm not going to give you as much here. But if we're going to criticize what Sidney Johnson did with this draft, then you have to acknowledge the last 4 years, well, 5 years, going back to our first season coming out the bubble, because were the Mystics truly, from a roster standpoint, built post 2019 championship team? No. Go back and look at the roster where you had Brittany Sykes, Ariel Atkins, and Natasha Cloud, 3 guards who all do the same thing. And with Belladonna, who did not play, still didn't work. And everyone keeps throwing. That's okay. Let me say it this way. People keep throwing Aaliyah Edwards. When they trade Aaliyah Edwards, correct me if I'm wrong, got hurt in training camp. Kiki Arifin came in and took her spot. Unfortunately, somebody was going to have to go. When she was drafted, that was the question. Oh, wow, okay, you've got Kiki and Aaliyah. And on top of that, too, you're going to ask yourself the same questions about that in Connecticut. I think Aaliyah is a great player. I wish he was still here. But the reality is, like, I think if you also understand what the Mystics are trying to do, they have also 7 first-round picks the next 3 years. So you can say, people can say we're hogging bigs or whatever, but I look at the last couple years, Washington didn't have that. Now, could they have done better with perimeter shooting and three-point shooting? Absolutely. I will agree with that. But I don't think Washington is – I don't see where someone like a Cassandra, a Darina, or even Rory can probably bring something to that. Prosper, is a big who can shoot threes. Okay. Little Paige Bugs is a rebounder, and Roy Harmon, though, who's not the best 3-point shooter, but everybody within these 6 picks brings something different for this Mystic team. And I hate to say this, and I'm going to say it, but when they moved on from the Tebows, they told y'all the snap count and the play that they were going to run. And yet, we're still not understanding this rebuild. Because if you understand, Mr. Michael Winger is a prodigy of Sam Presti. Oklahoma, the Thunder have built their team like that. That's essentially how they kind of want it to be. Do I agree with that? No. But can we at least give these 6 players a chance to see what this roster looks like before we criticize Sydney? Because also, too, with Jamelia, I don't know what she would have done with this if she was still here. I don't know. Now, Sydney, in his excellent interview, he said he did want more shooters around Shakira. We'll see how this looks. But the biggest thing was, obviously, one did not agree for us to be removed, to parted ways for strategic differences. We must have had different agendas, because I think Sydney did his big one, and I think the Mystics will be just fine. Predicated on health, I think Shakira will be fine. And if Kira was on any other team, I mean, that's okay. I think I already gave you way too much, but I'm gonna talk more in the video, because I'm gonna break each individual player down more than I did on this video. But the Mystics did an A+. That's my grade for this team. Winners, the Sparks, Seattle, Los Angeles Sparks, the Mystics. I think these 4 teams won the draft for sure. Scouting, and Miss Yanin, the GM. You can't make a decision like that, sister, and then double down on it. You got to stand on 10 toes. You got to stand on business, because I've seen worse. But this trade might be the wildest thing I've ever seen. You give up the 8th overall pick and you only get essentially 2 second round picks, and when you're given the opportunity to explain why you made the trade, well, I want to make sure I have a clear answer, but I'm exhausted. And then your response is, I don't talk about salary cap. Well, then what do you do if you don't do any of those things, especially with salary cap? UCLA, I'll put it there as a winner as well. Corey Close, I think we'll definitely get some players in the portal. Congratulations. Scouting, I really do think we're losing the plot when it comes to scouting. We got to do better with how we're looking, as we're scouting talent. What are you looking for? Because especially with international prospects, I just am not a fan of that. just kind of passing up on, I think, proven players that have shown what they can bring to a WNBA team. And example with Portland, you're taking a player who won't be here next year. I think that's weird to me. But again, it's all about how the individual best fits your roster. And yeah, so, but you guys, let me know how you feel like your team did in the WNBA draft this year. But we'll talk about the Mystics because that's the team I'm covering this year. Again, this will be my fifth season, because now Kira's going to her fifth year. So I came with Shakira and with that team as well. So, with that group. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into the one final thought of the podcast.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
I want to give a shout out to the great Tina Charles. Fun fact, we share the same birthday. Go Sagittarius. Shout out to all the Sagittarius in the world. Continue to do great things. And I quote to every player who went undrafted on Monday as I'm reading this, keep tunnel vision, your vision. Don't let one moment define your journey. Your time is coming. Stay with it. Keep working and trust the path. Everyone's route to the destination is different, but every journey is meaningful. I think that's very powerful. And I want to iterate my congratulations to all the young women who had their names called for this year. This is an exciting chapter. It's a new chapter, and I know each and every one of them will do great things, and will continue to do great things for the game of basketball. Continue to make their families proud of them, and not just on their families, but their communities, so forth. Even if your name wasn't called, like Yarden Garzone, shout out to Yarden, got a training camp contract with Phoenix Mercury. Opportunities, like make coaches when you're in practice, and then make them remember your name. Take advantage of that. Just let people know when you walk out that facility, and we got to get some more tape. Ashley Owusu, who was overseas. It's important you get tape because you want people to see what you bring to a team. Rebecca Gardner, who's the oldest rookie of the year, same thing. So everyone's journey is different, but don't let something that your name not being called, don't let that discourage you. I'm going to reiterate what Tina, I thought that was very powerful. I wanted to read that. But I think everybody will do just fine. But yeah, I want to, again, congratulations to the 2026 WNBA draft class. Everybody looked great. Probably the best outfit was AZ, because she did the same thing Paige did last year on the orange carpet, and then on what she had on when she walked across the stage. She looked good. Tonight was giving me In Vogue a little bit. I was getting businesswoman vibes from Raven. I like that. Douglas, Angela Douglas, Lauren Betts. It was giving prom, but they all looked classy. Cody. There was the gloves that threw me off, and then the socks. That was something, but looked good. But other than that, also too, what was your best? Who you think looked good with the draft outfit? Flage, I think looked good. It's almost like she was at the Oscars, but they all looked great. All looked wonderful. Really quick, I know people jumped on Olivia Miles, but look. Be comfortable in who you want and who you are. Yeah, presentation matters, but I'm gonna keep it real. Like for the NFL draft, I've seen worse. The NBA draft, I've seen worse. I know on the portfolio picture, she had a nice suit. So yeah, just let me know who you thought dressed the best as well. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. We are at the midpoint of April. Training camp for the WNBA is upon us soon, and then preseason. Lord have mercy. But that's going to do it. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned in for the NFL mock draft. I'll be working on that as well. You can also follow me on Twitter at Nathan Snell. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Have a good night. Peace. Stay out.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you. I know that loving me wasn't always easy. And you felt like walking away when you couldn't see me. Felt like all your hope was gone. But I'm right here on bended knee. Please be my wife and stay with me. Please take my hand through stormy weather. We will stay, yeah. Let me be the one you. When you need me, I'll be there. Just to let you know that I really do care, yeah. Baby, I promise. Baby, I promise. I'll be right here for you. No matter the problem. No matter the problem, baby. I'll be by your side. 'Cause the love we share can never be denied. Denied.